should know that our way is not the only way. Don't force anybody. Speak and wait. If they are interested or ask you for help, give it. If they don't ask you for help, leave them alone. Maybe they're happier following their own way. Don't force anybody to follow your way, but love them all the same. It doesn't mean that people don't follow our way, we should love them less. If we really want to help them, we should love them and be tolerant and patient. Now you notice tolerance and patience. You'll find this everywhere, certainly in all sincere spiritual teachings, talk so much about this. And sometimes in relation, but we have to understand what tolerance is, because sometimes in relationships with difficult people, we think that to put up with their difficult temperament means we love them, but it doesn't. It means we just suffer them in their ways. It's kind of a false tolerance. It's not the core value of tolerance we're going to talk about here. This kind of false tolerance for other, if you really analyze and get into it, it's based on a discontented skepticism. True tolerance, core value, is when we show leniency toward the behaviors of others when it doesn't match our way. It doesn't match the way we think people should behave or the way we believe we should behave. Real tolerance is based on an honest respect for others, who are in truth ourselves, of course. Their behavior may now seem less than our behavior, but you have to remember, no matter who you meet, if they seem lower than you or less than you or not as developed as you, you were there once. And where you are now, they will one day be. So this idea of intolerance toward others, it shouldn't be expressed. If we can't say, so the idea is we want to think of everybody as ourselves, because that's in truth we are. We all belong to the common selfhood. But if we can't do that just yet, at least think of them as brothers and sisters. But for tolerance to be a core value, it must be accompanied with sincere love and patience. And like in the first story, there's another lady who came to Daskos, and she said, you know, sometimes I notice people want help, but they don't ask. I thought we can only help people when they ask. Sometimes I can feel they want help, but they don't directly ask me. And the second part of my question is, how can we find the right words? Because if I tell the person exactly what you're saying, Daskale, they don't understand. But if I say it, change it, then it gets distorted. Daskos replied, now look here, help people. Don't go around with a jar full of water and insisting others to have a drink. They might say, I'm not thirsty, or why should I have it? But those who are thirsty will find a way to the water and drink. So be ready to have that glass of water ready to give it to somebody when they ask you for a glass of water to drink, but don't force it on them. So now people, if they are not ready, whatever you do will not help them before it's their time. Something else, it's not kind to wake up a sleeping fellow who's dreaming and snoring and for you to go and shake him and say, wake up now, I've come to teach you. They will just say, leave me alone, let me sleep. So you must be careful. Be ready, prepared, but don't give advice if they don't ask first. Be ready, but don't make people feel tired of you by pressing them. Nobody will follow you unless it's their time to come. Now, obviously, one of the first people that we should be tolerant with is our close loved ones. We must give them the freedom of deciding what's right for them, what they want to do, what they want to have, how to express themselves. Super important in partner relationships, because no two people have exactly the same interests in life. And those interests are the very thing that's giving them their unique experience to move through these levels of consciousness, to get the lessons, the next most needed lessons in life. So each person has their own way to progress, which is not exactly our way. So we can't force our way on other people. And don't try to teach or force people to follow what we say. They have to decide. We must respect their way and not insist on our way, or we actually harm them. We can actually harm them. Now, developing tolerance takes training over time with the golden key: observation, concentration, and meditation, and in dealing with our subconsciousness through the practice of introspection. This is exactly the training you need to become a good psychotherapist. It's exactly the training you need for uplifting spiritually. And this training qualifies us with tolerance and love. To do this service, shouldn't feel like a duty, a heavy burden, a duty, as a pressure, but it's a pleasure. Mm-hmm. Then we will be successful. Not just being a good psychotherapist or a good spiritual guide, but being a good conduit of God. Now, in the schoolhouse of earth, there's a required lesson everybody must take. And no one expressed the nature of that lesson better than Christ when he said, "Love each other as I have loved you," which means purely and unselfishly. And to really do that, you have to develop tolerance. And we learn tolerance by loving people as they are. This is the aim of spirituality and all religions, really. We are following this aim if we do not criticize, complain, or dislike others. Sometimes people don't like other people who are different than them. Sometimes people don't like other people who are exactly like them because they see their own faults in that other person. This is called mirroring, and it goes on all the time, all the time. So, continuous observation with patience and tolerance lead us to the truth, which means the true cause of things. So to try to keep nothing in your heart but love and respect and tolerance. No criticism is helpful or necessary. Christ said, never criticize or judge others, or we will be judged and criticized by exactly the same measure. Would any of us want to be judged and criticized by the measures we criticize others?
Absolutely not.
We wouldn't. Nobody would. We would rebel. And really the ones we feel most like criticizing are the ones that need our love. These people are crying out in a very disturbing way, disturbing way. They're crying out. Their disturbing behavior is a cry for help. Now, Daskalo said, somebody asked us, well, what about constructive criticism? No such thing as constructive criticism.
Thank you.
And he said, criticism is the first obstacle of a researcher of truth. So the basic instructions for the teachings of the researcher of truth is patience, tolerance, and love, which is these three qualifications. They're simple. We can advance spiritually very far and very quickly. And something you've noticed, if you study, if you get around guys who are real masters of their emotions, their mind, their lives, of course they don't criticize, but they're very tolerant of other people's weakness. That's one of the touchstones. That's one of the signs of real masters. They're very tolerant of other people's weakness and very intolerant of their own weaknesses. Mm. So keep that in mind. And it's not like you can learn tolerance from a book. You can't read a book about how to become intolerant. It's only done by cultivating understanding and insight that each person should be allowed to travel the road that is best suited for them according to their unique disposition. Tolerance gives love and respect to God in all personalities, because God is in each of us. So when we meet somebody, no matter how difficult they're acting, try to get beyond that and look through and say, it's God in there. I must love and respect that God. I can't just cast that person out or criticize or put them down. I have to find that God in them. And that's really some of the hardest work, especially with a difficult person. So we try to see the divine selfhood in them and overlook their weaknesses. It doesn't mean we agree or accept their weaknesses. It means we accept the person with the weaknesses. This is the difference.